exciting to talk to. It's exciting to find opportunities like this to speak to people in Uganda, and often I say young people in Uganda, because this country is just so young, to the extent that the recent survey, recent census showed that median age is 15.7 years. The average age is 15.7 years old. So it's really a young country, a young population. And it was also exciting to hear your story. I haven't got your name well, the moderator, Antonia, to hear your grandmother's story, because that's the story I grew up in. And I was born in Kampala here, but like I said many times, our parents took us back home to do our primary education back home. So I actually did my primary school in partly in Amolotara district, and then I came for primary 7 in Bugema Adventist Primary School, and then continued up to Comboni College in Lira for my O levels. I went to Kigezi High School for my A levels, and then Makerere University, and further. There's a reason I give you that quick story, and it's because of cooperatives. Just to pick from your story, Antonia, is that my mother was a major cooperator in the village. My dad was a security man, was a police officer in Kampala here. My mother was the farm manager and a cooperator in Amolata district. He was a senior member of the Akuan Primary Society in Amolata district, where I was brought up. And we used to grow cotton. She was always the largest cotton farmer. And she really didn't need much in terms of money from daddy, because whenever she made her cotton, she would have enough money to run in a year. And so we had everything. In fact, often daddy, the only thing daddy came with from Kampala was to come with some rice, which we were not growing yet at that time, and maybe some blue band, margarine, things we get in the village. But everything else, she didn't need to carry food like we do today to the countryside. Everything was there, and he just carried few things that we couldn't find immediately in the village. And so I want to start by cracking some myths in Uganda. At the moment, the majority of Ugandans think or have come to believe that cooperatives are those organizations for farmers, and they are different from SACCOs. My first intervention is that cooperatives are the same with SACCOs, except that SACCOs are financial cooperatives. SACCOs are a type of cooperative whose business is money. They buy and sell money. SACCOs trade in money. They are saving and credit cooperative societies, SACCOs. They trade in money. A growers cooperative society trades in crops, some crop. A livestock cooperative society is a cooperative that trades in livestock, maybe farmers or a direct cooperative. And to give you an example, we also have about 4 electricity cooperatives in Uganda. There's Pade Abim Electricity Cooperative, there's Chegegwa Electricity Cooperative, there's Bundibuju Electricity Cooperative. I think there's another one which was being developed in Greater Karamoja, beyond Pade Abim. So they are growing the electricity cooperatives in Uganda. We have education cooperatives in Uganda, for instance. And they build schools, they're running schools, they're employing teachers, all the members, the owners of the cooperative are actually teachers, and a few parents have joined now. In the world, there are sports cooperatives. Many of you may know Barcelona Football Club, Bayern Munich Football Club, Real Madrid Football Club. All those 3 big clubs and very powerful clubs in Europe and UK are cooperatives. They are football cooperatives. To go even to the ICT world, Huawei, the Chinese global company, IT company, is a staff cooperative. All the staff members, all the Chinese youth who work in Huawei are shareholders of Huawei, the global company. Many of us think it is just a company, but actually it is a staff cooperative. In Brazil, I have been to Brazil and I met a health cooperative, which is run by medical staff, doctors, nurses, lab techs, all experts in health. They run over 100 hospitals across Brazil, built by cooperators, by medical staff who have saved money together, who have and built hospitals, and they run it as cooperative hospitals across the country. When you go to Latin America, particularly in Colombia, these are big housing cooperatives. We have a small housing cooperative union in Uganda, which has not yet grown to the kind of size of housing cooperatives you find in Latin America and in Europe and America. So they are really big. In the United States, for instance, it's also good to know that electricity distribution in USA, rural electricity distribution, about 47% of that is distributed by the rural electricity cooperatives. What am I trying to say is cooperatives are businesses that can run in any sector of the economy. And I want to demystify this idea that cooperatives are for farmers, those old farmers, Bugiso Cooperative Union, Masaka Cooperative Union, Ankole Coffee Union. No, it is just that at the time we set up cooperatives in Uganda, the first people to start cooperatives were farmers. And so the first cooperatives that grew in Uganda and became very strong by the time we got independent, already very strong, were growers cooperatives, farmers cooperatives. So as far as we must start with that. Now that I've given you examples of what cooperatives are, I want to get on to what's a cooperative really. Those who you can Google, you can check this. Standard global international definition is that cooperative is the autonomous association of persons united voluntarily to meet their common economic, social, and cultural needs and aspirations through a jointly owned and democratically controlled enterprise. That means the members of the cooperative are the shareholders and the first customers of a cooperative. It is built to enable the members to add value to the lives of their members. They are member-owned, member-controlled, member-utilized, and member-benefiting value-based organizations. That's what a cooperative. Those are enterprises that are member-owned, member-controlled, member-utilized, and member-benefiting, and they're value-based. And I'll talk about the values. It's important to understand this, that because what I see as a major challenge in cooperatives at the moment in Uganda is people go and buy some 1 or 2 shares, save some little money, and say, Chairman Ronald Mukasa is not running our cooperative very well. They are not engaging with it. They don't know what's going on. They only come to complain during the AGM or to quarrel during the AGM that the cooperative is not being run very well. Any member of a cooperative that does not, and I repeat, does not take time to go and understand what is in their cooperative, what's going on, and they have a right and responsibility to do that, is not a serious cooperator. That person is not a serious cooperator. And I think for me, the biggest challenge we're facing in Uganda is that cooperatives are started recovering and reactivating in the country at a time when not only the private sector has been the lead process in the growth of the economy of Uganda, but also we have had donor money and donor aid big time in Uganda, and NGO money, project money is flashing around, and because of that, many of us joined the cooperative treating it like it was some community group or some NGO. Many of us also joined cooperatives thinking that it is a way to get external support. But a good cooperative belongs and gets all the support and financing from members. So what are the values of cooperatives? And I would like to suggest to everybody, we need to understand this values issue properly, because it will determine what cooperative financing is. Now, the core values of cooperatives are: number 1, self-help. Self-help therefore means you as a member of a cooperative, you are going to take it upon yourself with your fellow members of the cooperative to find solutions of the problems, the needs, and the ambitions and hopes you have as members and owners of the cooperative, not somebody from outside to help you. Number 2 is self-responsibility. Self-responsibility means you are not only going to draw maybe money or your physical action through self-help values to do things, but you also take responsibility for all the good, the bad, and the moderate success and failures in the cooperative. You don't just go and blame it on somebody else. You take self-responsibility. So that means you cannot just stay there outside your cooperative for the whole year without checking, without being part of any common meeting. In fact, successful cooperatives often hold members meet like this kind of session you have with me this morning. Successful cooperatives across the world have either weekly meetings or monthly meetings where they discuss the problems or issues that affect their members, which they think members need to know and find solutions to. For instance, if the members of the cooperative are young people who are still single, not yet married, a good cooperative would look for how to find people with experience, expertise, and experiences in marriage counseling, or even just marriage talk to discuss about what it means to marry, what it means when you marry, what a responsibility does it come with, how to deal with challenges in marriage, and that kind of thing. If it is young people again, maybe it's an employment, they could get experts in employment, both government, maybe regulators, or employers who have the experience of the job market and can explain to them. If it is if also the young people want to start businesses, you get experts to come and discuss business with you. So that is what a good cooperative, so that you take responsibility. Number two is democracy. Cooperative decisions, all major policy decisions of a cooperative must be taken based on the voting right and responsibility, either delegated or real during the annual general meeting. Now, when the annual general meeting elects the board and elects the supervisory committee with the internal audit committee, elects the vetting committee, and elects then the board starts, the committee start operating, and the board starts operating, they have delegated authority from the AGM, and therefore they must do things which have been approved by the AGM. That's why, for instance, it is the cooperative AGM that approves how much money you can borrow in a year. Once you have presented your budget, you also present that for us to do this work, we like to borrow from Stanbic this kind of money to top up what we have so we can achieve what we want. That has to be approved by the AGM because it's a major policy decision you are taking, and the members must have taken their knowledge and lack of honesty, and they have captured cooperatives. Most of the managers in cooperatives in Uganda today, the SACCOs in Uganda today, the managers are benefiting more than the board members who are less educated. The manager goes with a lot of an MBA because the board now is continued, and the manager with the account.
Leonard, we still seem to have that problem.
And that's a big last year, 2-3 years it has collapsed. It's not because the members don't want to do something good, but it's just because the managers are manipulated. So the biggest challenge we have is lack of honesty and lack of integrity that's hitting the cooperative movement at the moment, which is a problem in all businesses and enterprises and government public institutions in Uganda anyway. The second thing is openness. For us to be open with each other, open as leaders, open as members, open to members, open to leaders in a cooperative. That is what makes a cooperative successful. The third one is social responsibility. We must have social responsibility in the community where with our members where we work. So that if a member is in trouble, we must be there for them. If the community where we work, where our cooperative base has a problem, we shall be part of it. And finally, caring for others. That is a big thing. We must always remember that in the spirit of mutualism, you cannot succeed without caring for others. And that is what makes, if you do all these values, if this is what drives you, then implementing what is called the 7 cooperative principles becomes easy. In many people's thinking, they think the principles are most important. But we have done research at the Uhuru Institute, and all the researches we have done have proved that the most important thing to run a cooperative are the values. First, priority one are the values. If members come with these values or learn and adopt these values, then running the principles of a cooperative successfully is easy. And that is principle number 1. That is the third slide, I think. Antonia, that's the third slide. The principles. Principle number 1 is voluntary and open membership. In short, You cannot be forced or coerced to join a cooperative and be active in a cooperative. If you cannot fit in it, you can leave. The second thing is, and that means instead of joining voluntarily, you must think through and ask yourself, do I really want to belong to this group? This team who want to join from a cooperative, maybe are teachers or doctors or farmers or business people, entrepreneurs. Do I share a common bond, a common interest, a common value with them? Do I really feel it fit in this group? That is very important, because then you take the decision to join, because you've thought about, you've studied them, you've understood what they want, but you also believe in that. Hello? Are we together? Hello?
Oh, I can hear you.
Hello?
I can hear you.
Okay, you follow?
Give us a thumbs up if you can still hear him. I hear him clearly from my end. I don't see anything in the chat, so let's just...
Hello?
Let's keep going.
Yes, please. Yeah, okay. That democratic member control is very important. Democracy is very important in cooperatives. Major policy decisions have to be given a nod by the annual general meeting. The management and the board may develop it, discuss it, but it must be approved by the AGM. So when the cooperative business runs, the AGM is aware and no member is shocked by the results of the decision which have been taken. Then member economic participation. Member economic participation, it means buying your shares effectively, enough shares that can give enough capitalization for your cooperative, patronizing the cooperative business. For instance, if your cooperative runs a supermarket, for instance, in our case, we are in the urban setting, your cooperative runs a big supermarket. And by the way, across the world, there are many supermarket cooperatives, consumer cooperatives around the world that are often patronized by entrepreneurs, by public servants, by employees, private companies who are members and shareholders of those consumer cooperatives. They do a brilliant piece of work, and they service members, for instance. And it's a very common thing in China that you find cooperatives, consumer cooperatives, are member owned, and every member on a Friday takes a small soft loan from the cooperative and gets a coupon on their phone, which they use to go shopping in the cooperative supermarket. So the cooperative makes money by issuing a small low interest rate loan every Friday to each of their members as a coupon to the members to go shopping. And because they are shopping in their own supermarket as a cooperative, the profit the cooperative, the supermarket makes is their dividend at the end of the year. So those are things which people like us who are in the urban setting need to begin to think beyond just joining a SACCO or joining a cooperative just to borrow money. Cooperatives can actually do so much for you beyond just borrowing money. Then there is education, information education, and in information training and education is very important, because as a principle, the lack of information, the disinformation and misinformation always causes a lot of problems in cooperatives and in public life. And so it is always important to regularly get experts or provide updates to members to understand what is going on in their cooperative, what is in the market with the cooperative facing, what the responsibility of the members should be, what members should do to make their cooperative successful. Regular information. I can say one cooperative which I think, and some of you may be members, one cooperative which I know does that quite regularly. They have a monthly meeting for members. That's the YSAF SACCO, the YSAF Multipurpose Cooperative in Watoto Church. They meet once a month, one evening a month. And that is so good, because on top of bringing people like me to share something, they also meet physically as members and share and learn, marry each other later, all those kind of things. It builds a bond, a sense of solidarity, and mutual support of members very well. Hello? Excuse me, just hold a bit. I think let me get to my computer. Maybe it'll make it much easier for me. Yeah. Hello, Antonia.
Yes,
Hello?
I can hear you. I can hear
Can you
you.
please send to me the Zoom link? I want to log onto my computer so that I can follow the chat with come back with, because I'm not holding the phone in my ears and discussing. Huh?
All right.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so I said one key principle is information, education, and training. So it's important for members, it's important for leaders, even important for the community where our cooperative operates. Sometimes it's good even just do a public discussion, maybe on radio, TV, to explain who you are, what you do, and how the community can benefit or support you. That's very useful because when people don't know, well, as I said earlier, lack of information, disinformation, and misinformation is among the major things affecting our public life in Uganda and affecting our cooperatives and our SACCOs and everything. So that is important to take note of. And then there's what is called cooperation among cooperatives. Good cooperatives will always be cooperating between each other because our competition, because of our nature of social solidarity, our competition is not about over competing and beating the other in the market. It's about supporting each other. So cooperatives must always look to each other and cooperate with each other. For instance, if there's a common problem and let's say you're in a rural area and you have a water problem, everybody cooperatives can come to solve that problem and put some money to solve that problem because it's going to help everybody else, not only their members. And then finally, the final principle number 7 is concern for community. Again, this is like corporate social responsibility in the private sector. Cooperatives do that. It is what they do every day because that's what makes them a powerful, unique entity in business in the world. Just wait. I'm trying to book. Ronald, did you send it to me? Everybody sent. I feel like you sent to me on the WhatsApp.
On email, check your email.
Now, after giving you that background, let's pause now into cooperative financing. How do cooperatives find money to do their business? First of all, good financing must be based on good plans, business plans, good strategic plans, good business plans, good work plans, monthly or annual work plans, and good associated with good budgets. Budgets which are accurate, budget which is frugal, budget which is business focus is aimed at delivering the objectives of the cooperative. Now, when budgeting is done, it is reviewed by the board, by the budget committee of the board, and taken to the board for initial approval. That budget is then taken to the annual general meeting for final approval by the annual general meeting. When the annual general meeting approves the budget, it is that working budget which the cooperative uses throughout the year. Now, what does this mean? It means, like any other business, you must work within your budget. If your business is going to go beyond the budget, then you can call a special general meeting in the middle of the year and discuss it that there's need for adjusting the budget. But it is always, in my view, risky practice to find a cooperative all of a sudden changing their budget. It just means either no serious planning was not done in the beginning, or not only was serious planning not done in the beginning, it's also possible that that something is going wrong in terms of how money is being managed in the cooperative. And this is a challenge that cooperatives are facing. I was saying that you need to take responsibility. That means financing a cooperative is a responsibility of its members first and foremost. And that is by buying shares, by saving, and there are many, many ways we can work as entrepreneurs in improving shareholding. There is a tendency in the cooperative movement in this country to think that you buy 1 or 2 shares, because many cooperatives in this country, many SACCOs in this country first started as village saving and loan associations, or maybe, and in most of those village saving and loan associations, they buy shares, maybe 1 or 2 shares only, and joining fees, and that is it. Now, that means members do not take responsibility to increase their shareholding, which is commensurate with the business needs of the cooperative, so that they can capitalize the cooperative. Increase your shareholding, you jointly increase the capital of the cooperative and therefore can run. Now, if you get any external money, it is often, experts in cooperative will tell you, it is always advisable that external financing should not go beyond 30% of a cooperative. Because once it goes to 40, 50, 60%, then whoever's given you money from outside, whether he has bought shares in the cooperative or that person has brought aid, maybe charity money or project money to the cooperative, then the cooperative now starts losing its business interest and its social interest of how to provide support and add value to its members, to the interest of the donor project, to the interest of the NGO project, or to the interest of the government project, or interest of that big company which has given you the money. And that is really one thing which, in my view, at the moment, is the biggest challenge in cooperatives. And all the research we have done, if you find that research, it's called the legal business, ethical, and knowledge status of cooperatives in Uganda, which we launched in the report in 2019. It clearly shows that external money is largely at the moment responsible for the collapse of cooperatives in the country. Because once money from outside the cooperative comes, members lose self-responsibility and self-help and start fighting for that money. And so that's really the big challenge. So if you want, so for instance, if you have a cooperative and maybe it's a multi-purpose cooperative, or let's say it's a cooperative which now, and you want to begin to start some businesses which can help members. Let me give the example I gave earlier, a supermarket. So that members have where they can buy affordable, because usually in that kind of supermarket, the price of all the products in the supermarket for members is a little cheaper there's a discount for members than everybody else in the public out there. And because of that, if you want to open a supermarket, you can do a plan for the supermarket, do a value the supermarket, and therefore do a budget which shows that we need additional capital for this supermarket for the cooperative to run it successfully. You can float it out to members to buy shares in the supermarket, and it runs as a successful business under your cooperative. And that runs as like a small, if you want to call it a subsidiary company of the cooperative, or even just a business of the cooperative, and it runs very well. But that means members put more money in terms of shareholding to capitalize the supermarket and run, because it's going to benefit them. Because the benefit is one, they'll get prices, consumer prices at good prices, better than the open market. Secondly, if they make some profit, they will get dividends at the end of the year. So you can see that there is value in members investing in that. In fact, usually in some of these countries, behind the supermarket, there's also a club, a sports club, where people go and do gym, they do massage gyms, and all those kind of things that improve the health and the welfare of members. So it doesn't just run in front of the supermarket, but yeah, maybe there's a club where people go and have a drink, people go and chat, where this kind of discussion we talk about is held. People meet each other and get to know each other better. So that is what makes what good. But the important thing here is that the capitalization of that supermarket or that business you've opened for your cooperative is determined and provided by members. If you choose to get external money, please avoid making it rise too high beyond 30%, because often it causes problems. Members lose responsibility to start chasing that external money. And so my advice is that actually, if people, often we find ourselves in this situation in this country, people tend to say, we don't have money. But let me put it simple. We tried, we have a cooperative called Nafasi Multipurpose Cooperative. At the time, we had hoped to work with NGO staff and members to join this, and it's going slowly. It's growing slower than I thought. But at that time, when we started this cooperative, we had about 500,000 Ugandans working in the NGO sector. assuming each of them bought shares worth 20,000, that would have been 500,000 times 20,000. Okay, that would be what? Is it 100 billion every time they buy a share each, if all of them are joined? So the other thing about increasing shareholding, not just about the amount of money, but it's also good not to drag as many people as in because you want to raise money only. Because the behavior of members, the character of members, the common bond is important. Common interest is very important to make a cooperative success, to blend, bond, and work together well. Now, if you imagine that if 500,000 members of the NGO sector had bought 20,000 shillings shares each, that would be 10 billion. Surely, if you did that for 10 billion in 1 year, that's about 600 billion. That's big money. So what am I trying to say is that we often tend to think that we don't have money. But actually, these little monies, if we put them together in terms of buying shareholding to capitalize our cooperative, so much, with not so much put in by members. Just we increase the number of our members, or members sacrifice and put in maybe enough money in their cooperative. So what am I trying to say? I'm trying to say that it is, we have so much money, we tend to behave as if we don't have a lot of money. But we do have money. We have a lot of money in cooperatives. We have a lot of money among ourselves. But quite often, people think, oh, we cannot afford that one. No, we can afford. We actually have a lot of money around us. We have a lot of money, and often when we go for a beer in the evening, we sweep 100,000 one evening or 200,000 one evening sitting with friends. If we invested that money together in a cooperative, we will probably do much better for ourselves and for everybody else. So I thought maybe let me bring this to a close by saying there is a lot of opportunity in cooperatives. Cooperatives are not in agriculture and finance SACCOs only. Cooperatives are in all sectors of the economy. We can build cooperatives as long as we know it is about self-help and self-responsibility. We are accepted the power of self-help and self-responsibility coming together with mutual interest and working mutually to support each other. Thank you very much. God bless you all. Antonia?
Thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yeah, very clear, yeah.
And thank you, Leonard. You've really widened my perspective around cooperatives. I didn't know they were as diverse as you've described. And now looking around at the challenges we have in our country, I feel like many of them can be solved by us cooperating and working together to be the solution. I'm a member of a cooperative myself, but the most prevalent ones, which is SACCOs, and someone asked the question in the chat, the difference between cooperatives and SACCOs, to which Leonard in his introduction said, SACCOs are just a type of cooperative. As you can see, there are different types here. SACCOs is just the financial, maybe it's because it's not here, but Leonard can speak more to that, the difference between SACCOs and cooperatives.
Yeah, there is no difference. A SACCO is a type of cooperative. Just like the agriculture cooperatives, the marketing cooperatives, consumer cooperatives, transport cooperatives. In Kenya, the transport cooperative is very powerful. You cannot join the taxi industry and the bus transport industry in Kenya if you don't belong to a SACCO, a transport SACCO. They are kind of blended SACCOs for the transport industry. And they have become so powerful that nobody can join the transport business in Kenya in terms of public transport business without being a member of a cooperative. In fact, they own the routes. You find when from Nairobi, the Meru route, the Kisumu route. So that route is overseen, managed, organized by a SACCO that belongs to that route. That's how the transport industry in Kenya is organized. In fact, in this country, there has been an attempt to, there's a law which has not yet been properly implemented, which is trying to adopt the Kenyan model. But it is there in the law, in the Ministry of Works, has not yet been really adopted big time in Uganda the way it is in Kenya. You have electricity cooperatives, you have cooperatives in the processing industry. In fact, one of the things I keep telling people in Uganda is that the elite of Uganda, we come from in the countryside, our grandmothers, our cousins, our uncles, our kojas and sengas are outside. We only go to visit them when we want them to help us with marriage ideas. We want to marry, then we go and visit senga. But actually, they are struggling with the price of maize. They are struggling, they're growing crops there, and they're not making good money. We could invest in the processing industry in the cities and buy the countryside, for instance, to buy maize, come and process here, or process in a regional town, regional cities, and not take them to the market, because we will not be struggling with the difficulty of growing and agriculture, which can be very expensive. We'll just be buying and processing and taking to the market, to the supermarket, or to the exporting to other parts of the world. So that's the potential. There's sports in the sports cooperatives. I said earlier that Barcelona and Bayern Munich and Real Madrid are all cooperatives. So in sports, in IT, think of it in health, in education, all parts of the economy across the world, they are active cooperatives. So in Uganda, the SACCOs are different from part of it has really been a bit of political. People say there's all things or what the whole thing. We have now brought SACCOs. We, the new people of the movement, have brought SACCOs. For me, it's a waste of time. It's actually distorting what the value of that cooperative, the power of cooperatives can do in growing the economy, because they can work in all parts of the economy anyway. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Leonard. Someone else is asking the difference between a multi-purpose cooperative and an area cooperative enterprise.
Okay, a multi-purpose cooperative is that cooperative which has a license to do business in any sector of the economy. For instance, if you're a multi-purpose cooperative, you can have a SACCO. Okay, you can have, and therefore that's where your finance business is run. You can open a supermarket. That's a consumer. That's like if you had a consumer cooperative, would be a consumer business. You can open a factory which is processing maybe crops like maize or coffee and packaging it for the market. So you can open different multi-purpose cooperatives and work. But if you are a SACCO, your business is finance. If you start picking your SACCO and start going into other businesses without changing into multi-purpose cooperatives, the problem in Uganda, nobody will tell you. But when you lose money and you go to court will say, what does your license allow you to do? And they find your license is a money business license. A SACCO is a financial cooperative. Its business is money, trading money. I know. I get it. So that's very important. That is what that's what it is. That's what multi-purpose are. You can do. For instance, I'll give you an example. Why say multi-purpose cooperative? What started as a SACCO and later changed into a multi-purpose cooperative. They now have a forest as part of their investments. They have a travel tour company, which takes most of their religious visitors who come from America, North America, and Europe, come book with them, and they're the ones who take them to tour the different game parks of Uganda or the different tourism destinations. Then there is what is called the area cooperative enterprises. Area cooperative enterprises was a creation of the Uganda Cooperative Alliance, the apex cooperative at the point in Uganda. At that time, the concept of cooperative was really not doing very well in this country. It had political challenges. Some leaders didn't like even to hear anybody talk about it. And also there were tensions between the Uganda Cooperative Alliance in Kampala and some of the unions, which had lost money and they were blaming it on the Uganda Cooperative Alliance. And also there was USAID offering a project. So Area Cooperative Enterprise was born out of a project which was funded by USAID, and they are really a kind of union. Usually they recruit primary societies and they recruit producer groups. and they are under them as area cooperative enterprises. They are usually focused on one particular enterprise. For instance, maybe like you find area cooperative enterprise Bududa, which is Bushika area cooperative enterprise. Their biggest business is coffee, Arabica coffee. But they also have honey business. They also have some forestry with the developing. So that is the kind of thing. So area cooperative enterprises usually was designed almost like a multi-purpose cooperative with finance as a part of the business, production and processing and marketing as another business. But you can always develop it in the way you like. So an area cooperative enterprise is a mini union, if you want to call it, of primary cooperatives and producer groups of cooperators.
All right, thank you. Mr. Akampira Martin wants to know, from your research, why do cooperatives in Uganda and Africa at large fail to be passed on to the next generation? What can we do to sustain cooperatives for generations?
Okay, cooperatives have met, and I'll narrow it down to Uganda. The cooperative movement in Uganda was by 1970 employing 2.5 times the size of Uganda's public service. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine that the size of Uganda's public service now, if cooperatives were employing 2.5 times the size of Ugandan public service? In short, they were owning the economy. But the reason cooperatives were doing very well at that time, the government policy of the time gave cooperatives the monopoly of exports. Exporting coffee, exporting tea, exporting cotton, exporting tobacco. That's why West Nile was in tobacco. Bunyoro was in tobacco and coffee. Masaka Cooperative Union, West Mengo, East Mengo, Wamala was in coffee. It was Bulemezi Cooperative Union, which was bought a little bit of coffee, but also they had cattle, which was their part of their business. Banyangole Petrana was in coffee and beef. And a number of cooperative unions around the country, almost every sub-region of Uganda had cooperative unions. They were very powerful. The first thing that crushed the cooperative movement and undermined the coming in of young people into the cooperative movement is the coup of 1971. Because the economy then collapsed when Amin introduced the economic war of Idi Amin. The British government mobilized the world out there, the UN and the European Union, and they slapped a global embargo, trade embargo, economic embargo on Uganda. So we could not export or import. So really, export and import of coffee now became a job of military officers or connected Magendo people, connected business people in what was called Magendo. That is how things like Boda Boda was born in Tororo and Busia and Malaba, because it was bicycle smuggling coffee into Kenya or cotton into Kenya and coming back with groceries from Kenya, from border to border. That's how Boda Boda was born. It was really a smuggling business. That's how Kasei came. Big business, which was really by smugglers. It was no longer official business, which was run by cooperatives. Now, it also crushed the quality of our coffee out there. It began to affect the quality of our coffee when the economic policy changed into privatization and economic liberalization. Many private companies came and overwhelmed the cooperative movement. Now, your specific question is, why is cooperatives failing to attract young people? The first reason is, from the collapse of cooperatives, by the biggest collapse actually ended now by the war of 1979, many cooperatives lost a lot of capital, property, coffee in the stores, cotton in the stores, and many of their leaders also died in the confusion of the political process of Uganda. That meant young people growing up today have grown up for a very long period of time. Can you imagine between 1986 and now, over 30 years, there is a generation of young people in this country who have no idea what cooperatives are. And that's the bulk of the population of today. I told you the median age is 15.7. That means the majority of Ugandans who are now here have no experience or knowledge of cooperatives at all. What cooperatives do at all. Okay, and what they are. And I'm sure for many of you, what I've just discussed this morning is new to some of you, or for many of you, on what cooperatives are and what they do and what they're supposed to be, why they're cooperatives, not just any private business. They are private businesses, but they're run in a particular way. Because many young people do not know and they have seen cooperatives collapsing, cooperatives going through political problems, cooperatives recently their money was compensation which was being done was being stolen. All that makes many young people fear. And there are also old people who are stuck holding it. This is our thing. You young people, you don't know anything. So we have a problem with generational crisis between the old and the young in the cooperative movement. The young who do not know what cooperatives and how it can benefit them, the old who are holding onto it and even chasing sometimes away young people. I met a cooperative in Kampala here last Saturday, and 95% of the members are retired Ugandans. So I asked them, the way you look, I'm 62 years old, but I look younger than most of you. When you die, who is going to run your cooperative? What plans do you have for continuity in your absence? That's the chairman at his closing remarks told me, Leonard, the most important thing I have learned in all the many things you've told us this morning is what will be the future of this cooperative when we are not there. The old are getting stuck, don't want to leave, and that's really what I think is the big issue for us in Uganda now. So if one my opinion is we should attract young people using two things. One, investing in making our cooperatives invest in their areas of need and interest. Young people are looking for jobs. Our cooperatives should create jobs. Young people are looking for fast business. Our cooperatives should invest in areas that bring them business, money in their hands. Young people are looking for socialization. We could invest in socialization things, sports, arts, things that make them get value in there and make friendship and grow. And cooperatives must digitalize. We have found also that where we have helped a cooperative digitalize or have set up IT solutions, more and more young people have come to look for jobs because they now have digital solutions in the cooperative. So yes, I think those are some of the quick things I can say will attract young people. But I think for all of us, we should also be working towards setting cooperatives. If we are young ourselves, learning what it is, being inquisitive enough to learn what cooperatives are and set cooperatives and use it for the future. Because let me tell you, there is a sense of entitlement and blaming somebody else, which is common among young people in Uganda today. When I was growing up as a young person, that was not what I believed. I believed in my responsibility to shape my future. And I did it as a student leader. I did it as a young person in my family. I lost my father, my parents at a very young age, but I worked hard and changed my life, not because the parents were giving me free things, but because I believed I could do something for myself and for my family and for my society and my country. Yes, please.
All right, thank you. Jennifer wants to know what indicators you can assess before joining a cooperative and what indicators can help you exit if there are chances of closing or losing money. Isn't that the topic for another day? Is there a way to summarize?
I can summarize that. Yeah. First of all, let me say this. You remember when I talked about the value of self-help and self-responsibility? Running away from a cooperative should not be the first thing you do. It is your responsibility as a member to work to change it and make it better. This idea of going in just for the sake of money, don't join a cooperative, you'll just come for money. Once you join a cooperative, this is a life journey. Once you join a cooperative, you have a responsibility to grow, maintain, rescue it at difficult times. Be part of rescuing it and making sure it gets better and grows better. This idea of this thing is now running, let me run away. You are not a cooperative. Please don't join if that's how you want to join a cooperative. You're looking for money only. You don't want to be part of building it. Please don't come to the cooperative movement. You are a disaster for us. We don't need you. Yeah, I hope I'm not being too hard, but that's a fact. Cooperative is about self-help and self-responsibility. We must join and be part of it and grow it. So when something is going wrong, you have a responsibility to be part of the growth.
Okay, so to her first question, what should be the criteria to choose a cooperative?
To join a cooperative, you must ask yourself, what are my needs? What are my values? What are my beliefs? Are the things, the objectives, and the kind of people in this cooperative, do they share with me Would they satisfy my needs? Do they share with me the common values? Because you must have some common bonding. That's why in many countries you find teachers form a cooperative because they have common interests, common needs. They form a cooperative as a teacher. For instance, the largest cooperative in Africa is a Kenyan cooperative called Mwalimu SACCO. Mwalimu is so big that it is the largest cooperative in Africa. In Uganda, the largest cooperative is the Army Cooperative, the Army SACCO, the Wazalendo SACCO. Because they're all soldiers, they understand each other, they support each other, they know each other, they know the interests and the challenges of a soldier. They know how to deal with, how to solve a problem. A soldier, and I would do something and somewhere. So they have come together and formed a soldiers and army cooperative, and it's growing. By the way, in other countries, it is in Thailand. They have the Military Merchant Bank of Thailand. It grew out of the army cooperative into a giant industry. It finances the the military shipbuilding industry, the marine industry, the arms industry of Thailand, which Thailand sells out. The shareholders of that are actually soldiers. Of those companies are soldiers, and all of them joined it through the army cooperative. So that's the first thing. Do my needs, my values, my beliefs rhyme with what this cooperative is about? Number one. Number two, if those things start going wrong, why are they going wrong? What can we do to fix it? If you have tried and failed to fix, that's when you can have a good reason to leave. But don't just see something going and run away. It means you are not a cooperator by spirit. Don't come to the cooperative movement.
Yeah, I guess the emotional needs that the SACCO meets should supersede the functional needs around money, which is what drives the stickability, even when things are going wrong, because you're in it to solve a bigger problem.
Yeah, but money is important, Antonia. Money is very important for all. We all know this.
Some SACCOs might not make money in a year. And so from what you're saying, if I have a SACCO in an AGM, if we don't make money 2 consecutive years, then is that a reason to leave? If money was the driver?
Good reason to leave. Maybe you're getting more than just money. You're right there. You're right there, Antonia, maybe. But what you then have to do is, in the next AGM, money is not coming. You must insist that we do something to improve our business. We must do a quick survey. What is causing this? Why are we not making good money as a cooperative, as a SACCO? Why are we not making a good cooperative? Then you solve you list everything and assign the managers and the board 1, 2, 3 things you should do to change this business trajectory. That's the responsibility of the AGM to make sure they approve the correct policy decisions or strategy decisions to be taken to improve the business of the cooperative.
Okay, so a question that I had, and as a member of a SACCO myself, is around liquidity. You spoke to the 30% as an average for external funding. I need to check in our own SACCO what that percentage is at, but I know we are driven to external funding because of the savings culture of the members. So in your experience, how do you go about mobilizing members and sustaining the savings coming through to even convert them into shares, which is the more permanent type of capital and preferred probably type of capital?
Actually, I think for me, what I see that many times, like I said earlier, a lot of SACCOs being born in Uganda are born out of the saving. People come to save for Christmas. People come to save at the end of the year, they divide the money. Or for us who are educated, people come to save because I want to borrow money to build a house. I want to borrow money to pay school fees. We are not working on building a cooperative to be a sustainable business that gives me earning for me now and for generations to come after me. And we look at just how to get some little, it's actually like subsistence business or subsistence farming, the way subsistence farming works. We actually take that into the cooperative movement. Cooperatives should be about long-term, short, medium, and long-term business. It should be about growing, maintaining, and helping us grow into a powerful entity which has social, economic, and environmental impact in our society. So for me, the question that I should then be asking is, why is our saving not working well? It's mainly because we come with that attitude of just saving and not a big business plan. We do not even many cooperatives don't have strategic plans. Many cooperatives do not have business plans. They don't even set up a quick survey on what kind of business we are doing, why we should doing, what value will it add to our members beyond just dividends at the end of the year. Because a good cooperative, if business must solve the problem with its members, so its first customers must be its members. For instance, if a cooperative decides to build housing, it's because or buy land and plot it out for members, which I know Watoto Church as White Family Watoto did. They bought land, plotted it out for members, and members took loans from the cooperative and developed it slowly over a period of time. And more members are now enjoying it and are happy about it. But it is just because they took a long-term strategy that we are going to start this, it's going to take time, but our members in the end of it will have nice homes. And that's what they're doing. So for me, I think the big challenge for us is that many of us go with short-term mentality into the cooperative. So we members must start by having medium to long-term mentality and sustainable mentality, sustainable business mentality, so that we grow these things, not just for solving daily problems, but for building big impact for our households, for our communities, and for the future. I think that will then deal with the question. I think the problem starts with what exactly is our individual interest and mission coming and vision coming to this cooperative, and what they want to do going forward. Thank you.
Okay, so cooperative is not an investment club. It's not a source of passive income. It should be very active.
Yes, it must be very active, very, very active, yeah.
All right, so several people have their hands up. Hajat Sestimba and Emmanuel. Hajat, do you want to go first? Emmanuel, I'll read some other questions as they unmute. Someone was asking about they are considering setting up a family cooperatives. A family cooperative. Please hint on the positives and negatives.
Okay, good, thank you. And we can take a few more. I'm taking notes.
Okay, so there's that, and then maybe as you close, you'll speak to the services that Uhuru provides, and then why is government lopsided on cooperatives and only promotes SACCOs, which only encourages money sharing rather than investment? Your take on that, your contact, someone is asking for your contact. Yeah, if you could take those.
Okay, thank you very much. This minute, I'm trying to clarify my contact.
Okay, Emmanuel, I'm going to. Emmanuel, you can ask your question as well. You should be unmuted now.
I've put my contacts on the chat. Okay, now, family cooperative. I think that I met some family cooperatives in India while I was working internationally. I met some family cooperatives in China, while I was working internationally. And they work well, and a few in Kenya, and they work quite well, fairly well. The big challenge it usually has is if there's disagreement, if a member of the family mismanages the cooperative. Many Africans are not very good at treating business which has been messed up by a family member as a serious legal issue that the family member must account and deal, and they deal with him as somebody who has maybe mismanaged deliberately or what. They can't face a family member and say, no, this is wrong, you must change it. For me, that's the biggest problem. The biggest problem is where family members fear questioning the chair or the manager of the cooperative, but Indians have family cooperatives or family savings groups. For instance, in Indian culture, all members of the same family tree save in one account. You find they have one bank account. Even in Kampala here, you have one bank account in Bank of Baroda or Bank of India. And the old woman of the clan, or is the one who holds the cash cash book of the account, which just says how much have you drawn, how much have you saved in the so all their salaries, all their savings go into one account. So they cut cost of bank charges. But there's one or two women whose job is to manage the account and make sure that nobody, even when you're going to borrow money, say, but you're borrowing, you're picking too much of your saving. Why? Are you not planning for the future? They query that kind of thing. And that's why they grow and be very powerful. And that's why in Asia, South Asia and Southeast Asia, a lot of the most successful companies are actually family companies. And a lot of successful cooperatives also started as family enterprises. So yes, but we have a problem in this place. We are not willing and able to query rudely our family members who make mistakes, business mistakes. We then say, that's your brother. How can you arrest him? How can you force him to pay? You should forgive your brother. And then that's for me is the biggest problem in the in family cooperative in Uganda's context. Why is government promoting SACCOs and not the other type of cooperatives? I want to try to explain to you, please. Avoid these cooperatives and SACCOs. SACCOs are also cooperatives, except their business is finance. They are financial cooperatives. Other cooperatives in sports, in education are cooperatives in those areas. So this concept of SACCOs versus other cooperatives is a disastrous concept that destroys the success and the potentials of the cooperative movement. Number two, I think government is interested in SACCOs because government wants to increase more and more people in the money economy, because then that will make it easier to tax, make it easier to provide market for the industries, those who are connected and in business or external companies are coming. I think that's what it's still about, financial inclusion. That's what the government is been promoting. The other one is a bit political. You know, cooperatives were things of the 60s, and it was associated with somebody, the big-headed somebody who's many people don't like to be associated with. That somebody was called Obote. They say, I'm cooperatives, I don't know Obote things. I don't believe in those kind of nonsense. I believe that things which are good for us, even if they're founded by Museveni, what I mean, if it is good for us, we must use it and grow it. If they are wrong things, we must reject it and throw away. That's what I believe in my life. I believe that this branding somebody you don't like is stupid. It is actually one of the things which destroyed Africa. We do not, anything which a former president has done, we throw away and start something new instead of growing together. So I don't believe in that kind of thing personally. So I think for me, part of the reason maybe could be that in terms of partisan politics. But really, SACCOs, I think the main thing government is trying to do is to use SACCOs to promote financial inclusion and to bring most people, if not all Ugandans, into the money economy. Because that they think is will be a very good strategy of economic of developing the economy in a short, medium, and long term. Thank you. Something else. Somebody said I should talk about it. Is there another question before I talk about the services Uhuru offers?
Yes, related to government, how far has government gone with the requirement for UMRA licensing of SACCOs under Tier 4? So regulation, how far with the SACCO regulation and licensing?
Okay. There are the two things you need to understand. One, the law that brought in SACCO regulation was the Tier 4 Microfinance and Money Lenders Act. The Tier 4 Microfinance and Money Lenders Act brought in cooperatives, SACCOs, which are cooperatives, into the regulation of the Uganda Microfinance Regulatory Authority. Those who promoted this idea did not take into serious consideration and understanding the cooperative identity, which is the principles, the values, and the ethical values. And so they treated cooperatives just like any other money lenders. And when it came to the cooperative movement, SACCOs began to realize that the things they're supposed to be doing for their members kind of gets negatively affected by a regulation being regulated by UMRA, but also most importantly, taking them to be regulated by the Bank of Uganda. But on a very serious note, regulation is good for business. One of the problems which is there is that there are also some leaders and managers in cooperatives in SACCOs who are not managing money very well. And so they fear being tightly regulated. But for money to run well, money must be regulated well. So for me as a person, and I'm sure my colleagues in the Uhuru Institute here, we think that we should think about regulation of SACCOs very well. But the way other countries have dealt with it, the fear of SACCOs losing out on maintaining the values, the ethics, and the principles of cooperatives is to create a SACCO regulatory authority. Kenya have SASRA, which is the SACCO regulatory authority. It regulates them very tight like any other money institutions, but the regulatory provisions remembers and takes into account the fact that SACCOs are cooperatives and therefore should not just be regulated like any other financial institution, should be regulated to incorporate the triple bottom of cooperative, business bottom of cooperative, that is finance, revenue, social impact, and environmental impact. And thirdly, it takes into account the application of the principles, the values, and ethical values of cooperatives, so that they don't lose the character of the cooperative identity, which is so important in impacting the membership, adding value to the members, their households, and the communities that the SACCOs are in. So if you ask my opinion, that is what the issue is. So when SACCOs were put under UMRA, there were attempts by SACCOs to try to talk to government, do some advocacy to take them back to the Ministry of Trade. But then there was also an attempt by some members of SACCOs to remain in UMRA. So there was a bit of division. But I think what the issue is, UMRA is one of the institutions of government which is supposed to be merged back into the Ministry of Finance. You know, this rationalization going on in government institutions to try to reduce the cost of public service or public administration. And the number of authorities, agencies are being merged back into the department they should belong to in the different ministries. There is and UMRA is one of those institutions, or one of those authorities which are supposed to be merged back, harmonized back into their parent ministry, and in this case, the Ministry of Finance. It means UMRA will become a department or a unit under the Department of Financial Services in the Ministry of Trade, in the Ministry of Finance. That is one thing. Now, what has happened? Because of Uganda's type of politics, really, we have spent so much time back and forth, fight between members of parliament and the executive. You know, you agree on this, then the next other members raise noise, then there's this rumor which went around that some leaders, directors or staff of the authorities bribe members of parliament to make sure certain authorities were not merged with their parent ministry. All those became big issues. So it is those processes which have delayed the final decision making. That's even the challenge with this discussion around UCD and all that. It is political processes, in my view, which is delayed the administrative processes of merging this department, and UMRA is part of it. So it has not yet been completed because the president sent the document, the law back to parliament for parliament to review and amend so that all this UMRA, all this go back to their parent ministries. The idea they were put out was really about efficiency, and the donors who supported them in the beginning were really about protecting their money. But now it is very expensive to run a government ministry with all the relevant departments and then run agencies outside government, outside the ministry. So government is trying to merge them to reduce the cost of running government. Thank you.
All right. So
how long it will take to close it, I don't know when that will happen, because it's really, like I said, it is more the political process rather than the administrative technical process which has delayed the mergers, because the law has to be amended.
Interesting. I recall I was a note taker in a meeting many years ago when I just started work. I worked with the Finance Outreach Plan, and I was a note taker in a meeting where we were talking about principles of regulating SACCOs. 20 and so years later, the conversation hasn't concluded, but it looks like we are very closer, much closer now. So we'll stay tuned for the final outcome on that. We should be bringing this to a close, and your parting shots, Leonard, as well as some details around what Uhuru Institute, what services Uhuru Institute offers.
Yeah, sure. The Uhuru Institute was founded by myself and my sweet wife, Jane. We set it up because of my experience having gone. First of all, I used to work in the Ministry of Finance before I went to work internationally. I was heading the Uganda Participatory Poverty Assessment, out of which the Poverty Eradication Action Plan was born, NAD was born out of it, PMA, Plan for Modernizing Agriculture, was born out of it, the Northern Uganda Reconstruction Program, the Northern Uganda Social Action Plan, and the Local Government Development Program, and many other departmental plans were developed out of that study, where I was the national coordinator. And after that, I left and went to work internationally. And in working globally, I learned a lot about how cooperatives were doing great things in other countries. And remembering that cooperatives were very powerful when my mother was still a farmer, and I was farming with her, I thought it is something I could come and engage with. So I came back and set up the Uhuru Institute together with my wife, and we ran it together. She's the operations director, I'm the CEO. What does the Uhuru Institute is a private company. We are not an NGO. We are a social business. We provide solutions and connect cooperatives to business solutions, both locally and internationally. In doing so, we run what we call the COP 360 network. The network admits private entities, village cooperatives, saving and credit cooperatives like yours. It can be investment clubs. You can join the network. But you must, when you come to the network, you must tell us what are the things you bring to the network and what your expectations are on the network. We give you the terms and conditions to review, and I know your client form to fill. You fill those ones. We get to know who you are, what are the things, what your needs, and what your offers are coming to the network. So the network is like a marketplace for opportunities, for capacity building, for lessons, for support, for mutual support, and campaigns. And so that's really what the network does. So the network is like the platform that everything else then falls and works. We have a technical support facility, an enterprise called Skill Coop. The Skill Coop runs a BDS services and training services called the technical support facility. And then it's growing up a cooperative institute, college, which will soon start running. And it's already coming up very soon. And we hope that we're going to revolutionize the cooperative education market. That is called the Skill Coop Academy. The second one is, we have a finance company called Fanaka Finance, which is a microfinance really, and it provides loans to cooperatives and to cooperative members. If a cooperative doesn't have enough money, they recommend people to us after signing an agents agreement. So the cooperative is like agents of Fanaka Finance, and that's the enterprise we run. We also run a media house called the Cooperative Magazine, the Cooperative Media, which runs a magazine online and also runs online social media postings and also online talk shows. The Cooperative is something which we really would like to encourage you to subscribe. It is only 120,000 for a whole year for you. It is a monthly magazine that talks about what is happening in the cooperative movement. Its role is to inform, educate, and advocate for cooperatives. And then we also do research. Now the Uhuru Institute think tank, we do cooperative research. We have every year or two we select an area which we have reviewed. It's important to do a study on, and we do the study. We also run an ICT hub, which has developed tools, ICT solutions. One which already in the market is called the COP Profiler. The COP Profiler profiles members of the cooperative and the cooperative themselves using a tool called the Cooperative Resilience Measurement Index. It profiles the cooperative so that we know the strengths of the cooperative, how sustainable it is, and what it needs to do to improve its sustainability and improve its business. It profiles members so that cooperatives know what are the needs of their members, and it invests their business in the area that serves and adds value to their members. That's a profiler. We are also in near final stages to complete an ERP system, so an ERP software, which covers membership management, accounting, stores management, human resource management, payment solutions, and customer relations management. So all that is in that, and when it gets out, we are about to start the piloting with the cooperatives. Once it gets out, we are going to roll it, because many of the SACCOs are complaining to us that the systems they have in the market do not speak to the needs, the unique needs of cooperatives. And so we are dealing with that with them. We also run, I've talked about the an ICT solution. We are also about to launch a social media platform for cooperatives, which is going to be really, really very useful, and I want to really encourage you to take note of that. It's called Coop Connect. It's going to really revolutionize the communication and relations between cooperatives. We also have an e-market and e-commerce platform about to be launched early next year, which is called Sokoni Place. It's going to be where any cooperative can put, all members of cooperative can put their things for sale and buy things on the platform. So those are the many things that we are doing with cooperatives at the moment, and we hope that we keep growing and building together, and we hope that you'll find value in connecting with us. You can go to our website and find more on there. You can write to me directly on the email contacts and the telephone numbers I've given you there. You can also go to uhuruinstitute.org and send us an inquiry. We can see what you can get even that on our websites. We are active on social media and also active as a website. We are continuing to, at the moment, we are really in-house trying to build and recruit. If we didn't have COVID delays, we should have, many of the things would have been out by now. But I'm very happy that soon they'll be out. As a parting shot, the cooperative movement has a huge potential. Let me give you, as a parting shot, this information. The Kenya economy, which is the largest economy in East Africa, 45% of the Kenya economy is the GDP of Kenya is delivered by the cooperative movement of Kenya. I've been to Kenya and I've met a cooperative which runs a university called Meru, Yetu SACCO in Meru. It owns a university of its own. Cooperatives, whether they are SACCOs or farmers cooperatives, whatever, have a huge potential of changing our life and creating a people-centered business, a people-centered economy that deals with people bottom, improving revenue and household income for members, improving social welfare and social solidarity and social impact for members, and finally, improving this climate change crisis we are talking about, dealing with it as the environmental impact. That is what cooperatives is about. I look forward to many of you join the cooperatives and connecting with us so that we can come and join the network, and together we grow a unique, powerful cooperative movement that can change this country for the better. Thank you very much. God bless you all.
Thank you very much, Leonard. Thanks everyone for staying around to this very exciting discussion. I do have some announcements. Number one, with Enterprise Uganda, we have the Empretech training workshop that's ongoing. If you don't know what Empretech is, as an entrepreneur, it's not you. You can't wing it. There's a specific mindset, skill set that you need to be able to succeed as an entrepreneur, and that is the kind of transformation that will happen for you when you join the Empretech training. Please reach out to Enterprise Uganda for details on that. And then we are still registering for business health checks. Leonard has talked about a profiling tool that they have now for Enterprise Uganda, the business health check, just like as an individual, you do a health check for yourself. Your business needs one as well to find out where are those areas where the business is hurting or where the strengths that can be scaled and leveraged. So please register for it's free, it's complimentary business health check so that you have one done for your business. And then we have the Global Entrepreneurship Week that's coming up on 18th of November. The last year one and the years before was really powerful. You plan to come and listen to like-minded people, be set up, be inspired, be encouraged, as well as find solutions to the problems, the challenges that you are affected by coming to join the network of entrepreneurs. So plan for that week, 18th to 24th. More details will follow. Thanks again. My key takeaway is that every time I'm tempted to think government should come in and fix this, now I should be thinking, how can we develop a cooperative around the challenges that we have in our country, in our communities? Otherwise, the link for registration of the business health check, Derek, have you shared it? And if not, it will come in the email along with the slides and the recording. Thank you very much and have a great rest of the week. See you next week same time.
Thank you very much, Anthony, and everybody else. Let's get in touch, connect, and move together. Bye.